Many months ago I purchased these bed sheets at a flea market. But the weather was very cold and I intended to make a spring/summer dress with the fabric. But spring is finally here and I'm getting the itch. The big self-drafting project itch. So that's what we're doing. If you don't know me, my name is Mia. I'm a sewing and all things design enthusiast here on YouTube. All right, shall we? Since my Insta pictures are all over the place, I thought it'd be really fun to show you my thought process in terms of how I reach my design decisions. The way that I like to do this is very playful. I look at all of my Insta pictures and I answer 3 questions. The first thing that I like to reflect on is, what is it about each dress or picture what speaks to me? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna choose one word for each dress. It has to be the first word that pops into my head. I have to admit that I'm cheating. I have written down some words, but that is because I have trouble being spontaneous in front of the camera. But try to commit at home. Come on. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Flowiness, low waist, romance, comfort, structure, funny, color. They don't have to be the most intellectual words. They just have to be, what is the first thing that you think about when you look at this picture? What speaks to you about this dress? I think this is a good way to start a design, because ultimately when you choose inspiration pictures, what you're doing is you're saying, this is how I want to feel. The second question is, what is that one detail about this dress or this picture that needs to be included in my design? And for me, that was very simple to see, because all of my pictures have one thing in common, and that is the puffed, extravagant sleeves. So puffy sleeves was a must for me. The third question is definitely the trickiest one, because it is, what are my concerns about the design, about the project? The reason for this question is very simple. When making decisions, you're working with your own fears and your own biases, and I think it's very important to take them into account when you're making a project. For example, answering this question has shifted my design choice completely from one end to another, and I wanted to showcase this change and the thoughts behind it. So initially I wanted to make a very playful dress that bounces off the feel and the vibrancy of the fabric that I chose. But then when confronted to this question, it wasn't so clear anymore. My main concern is this dress ending up looking too childlike. And this has also to do with the way that I think and the way that my fashion sense is shifting. Our taste is ever changing, and I find myself in a very shifty moment right now. For the past 2 years, I've been trying to wear fun color combinations, and I'm kind of taking a step back from the vibrancy in the colors and the patterns, and I'm focusing more on the design aspect of my wardrobe. I'm looking for things that fit me instead of me trying to entertain a certain aesthetic or look. So ultimately, I decided that I was going to make something a bit more hugging, a bit more feminine, to balance off that playfulness of the fabric. But these are just my thoughts. What do you think? You're free to tell me that I'm making a huge mistake. It's fine. I kind of feel like I am, so we'll see about that. Disregard everything I just said. I have been looking at the fabric and I'm kind of afraid that I'm just letting my insecurities win here. I feel like this particular fabric calls for a more playful design, and I don't want to be in a situation where I feel like I'm removing from the fabric instead of adding interest and fun. I don't know if that makes sense. From all the inspo pictures that I showed you earlier, there's one design where I thought immediately, if I do this design, I cannot go wrong. So I think that I'm gonna follow that intuition. Side note, I'm really lucky because my mother-in-law, in her job, they were getting rid of old equipment and they offered her this, I believe it's called a transparencies projector. Correct me if I'm wrong. And she thought about us, which I just set it up. So let's try it out. I'm going to start the drafting process with a normal block pattern for women, and once I have this drawn on pattern paper, I'll start to make the adjustments. I got my pattern blocks. Next step is I'm going to have a good look at the inspo picture and try to figure out what they have done to the dress. And I'm making a toile, which, by the way, thank you so much for your participation in the comments. I really thought nobody would write anything, so I'm really happy that you guys answer my questions, and I really appreciate the feedback, the recommendations. I do go and check out everything that you tell me. Also, thank you for your very beautiful compliments and kind words. It means a lot. It might not seem like it, but I am very camera shy, and I'm beating this self-consciousness of mine by sharing. I'm really happy that people are watching, and I don't know, just thank you, I guess. Yeah. Let's go back to the project. There are many elements to take into account here. The first is there's a cutout which finishes around the chest area, which for me is around 13 centimeters from the neck. Then we have 3 gathering lines. The upper one is right at the seam. The second one is right at the top of the neck, so right around here. And the third one is a couple centimeters above the bottom of the cutout. I can already spot another mistake, which is that the gathering in the picture stops around here. The way the gathering works is because of the excess of fabric. So in this case, I'm going to go with a 1.5, which basically means that you measure the desired spot for the gathering. So for example, this is 16 centimeters. And you take 16 centimeters and you multiply it by 1.5. Now I'm pretty sure that the gathering is more pronounced and probably around 2 instead of 1.5, but I'm going to start with this amount and then work my way up. So 16 by 1.5 is 24. So what I'm going to do is elongate this line until 24. So I'm stuck already. I'm having trouble figuring out the armpit situation. At this point, there's no more gathering here. However, there seems to still be an excess of fabric over here. What I'm thinking is I should potentially making this line over here smaller until it reaches the armpit. I have no idea if this is going to work. This is the way that the excess fabric would look. So this would be tucked up until here. And here there's no more tucking, but the fabric needs to direct itself there without a gathering doing it for it, which is why I'm confused. If there's no gathering here, this excess fabric that exists here, where does it go? Does it naturally flow inwards? Good thing is every time I'm stuck, I always do the same thing, which is making a toile. Which, by the way, if you ever hear me say a word weirdly, that's because my mother tongue is French. By only looking at the picture, I cannot tell if the gathering is done by normal thread or elastic thread. It's definitely not with an elastic band because there is no channel. I feel like if there was, we would be able to see the 2 seams. But since I cut the fabric on fold and I have 6 gathering seams to experiment with, I'm gonna do half of them by thread and the other half by elastic thread. So it's not as bad. Now that I'm wearing it, it's not as bad. On the table, it looks completely wrong. So I made 2 mistakes, and I'm noticing just now. The first mistake is that the gathering here also starts at a 2 centimeters seam allowance. And the second mistake is that the one thing that I said was not going on with the original dress was actually going on. It's not gathered by normal thread. It's not gathered by elastic thread. It's gathered with a tie. When I was talking about the elements and I was saying, okay, there's a tie here and it connects exactly with the bottom gathering, and there's a tie here and it connects exactly with the second gathering. It's like I could have noticed there, but I did not. I did not. But you know what? I'm keeping this in because I want to show you that self-drafting, it's not, it's not a straight line. Let's just say it like that. I'm not getting discouraged because I'm having fun. Believe it or not, I'm having fun. And I was very intimidated, and now that I've tried this on, I'm like, okay, I'm not so far off. I'm gonna do everything just because I want to reuse the toile. I don't want to have to make another one. So I guess I'll see you once the adjustments are made. But yeah, it's the first try. You need to trust the process. I know this looks very bad, but I have learned some very valuable lessons. And isn't that what matters? No, actually everything's good. I know it looks very much bad, and that is because I just rushed through this process. I don't want to work on the toile, I want to work on the real dress, so I'm just rushing things. I should probably take my time, but that's not how my brain works. My brain is looking for the reward, and the reward is the dress. On a serious note, this is improvement. First improvement, it's more even, makes more sense. Then mistakes that I've made, I just rushed through and I did not measure how much the ties should pull, and so these distances are not even. And then third mistake, I should probably push the seam a little further just to gather a little bit more. Same in the upper one, just to show that cutout a little bit more. Now, I am going to finish this cutout and the whole collar with like a... And for that reason, I'm not too worried about the cutout. Now, what I am worried about is the arm holes situation. I have not cut the excess off, but I will do that tomorrow because I want to give it my all and I want to be really focused for that one. So far, progress. We have to celebrate every win. Anyways, good night. Good morning. This morning I woke up, made a new bag because I realized that if I don't have a bag, I cannot start experimenting with sleeves. And today we're doing sleeves. And let me tell you, there's nothing that scares me more than sleeves. If everything works out, we're gonna make the dress tonight. You can place your bets now. I'm not gonna spoil this one. I do the foreshadowing thing. And I'm not gonna. You're just gonna have to watch. very happy to tell you that I did cause a scene for no reason whatsoever. And one thing I learned about loving wide clothing is that you can always gather yourself out of a mess. I'll explain. If you were to make a fitted sleeve, you would have to measure the exact circumference and have everything, you know, just perfectly drawn and cut and sewn together. The science behind it that I still don't understand. But if you're making wide clothes, you know, the whole drawing thing, it doesn't have to be perfect, because then you're gonna gather it and then you're gonna pin it into place and somehow it's gonna turn out just fine. So what I'm thinking, I'm gonna experiment with the sleeve and then we can do the dress. And if you're wondering about the length, actually I'm just gonna cut this whole thing like a long panel. I just did the bust here because I didn't wanna use so much fabric. And this is like the most important part. Honestly, I really was going into this like I'm gonna experiment, but I like this. I think it's really cute. I'm just gonna cut the excess, hem this, and we're done. I'm gonna try to not make all of the mistakes that I've been making here in the actual dress and actually take my time. The reason that this was so long is because there's a lot of figuring things out. But the actual making of the dress I think is going to be faster, and what's going to actually take time is refining and being very careful about everything. The most that I'm going to do tonight is perhaps cut the fabric so that everything is already prepped for tomorrow. I'm not sure, because I want to do this with my whole head, and I don't think that my whole head is present right now. We'll see. Sleeve is hemmed. I think I might go shorter on the actual dress, but overall I think I'm very satisfied with the design. I just finished editing, and since I think I'm gonna keep all of the footage showing the process and showing the mistakes, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. I post a video every week, usually on Thursdays, so if everything goes according to plan, you will be able to watch me make the actual dress next week. Thank you for watching, thank you for supporting. If you like this video, consider subscribing, it really means a lot. Oh, and by the way, this is the first time that I'm using this mic, so I'd really appreciate some feedback. Yeah, see ya!